Today we're reacting to a Pokemon video because I have not yet reacted to one. As of recording this, and this is probably going to be the first one I release if I do more. Redesigning Gen 9 Pokemon, True Green 7.
Hey guys, Ron here, and with a whole new generation comes a new batch of Pokemon. If you know me, you'll understand that I'm a fan of a majority of Pokemon. I can even see the value of my least favorite pocket monsters, and just like in the previous generations, there are a few that I like less than the average Pokemon. And considering my opinion on Pokemon mostly comes down to design, redesigning some of them will help me sleep at night. Keep in mind, the Pokemon I believe will benefit from a redesign are probably not the same as yours. This is simply an exercise in how I would execute some of these concepts. I honestly don't think I objectively fixed any of these, just simply made them closer to my taste. I designed all of these on stream, by the way. That's right! Just make sure to subscribe and click the notification bell because I will be producing more and more of my art videos live on YouTube, where you guys can help me design Pokemon in the chat. We're starting with Pawmot, my least favorite Pokemon of the region. I understand that most people's ire is directed towards Pawmo for literally just being a bipedal Pawmi, and most would be satisfied with Pawmot if Pawmo didn't exist. But I personally don't like the design of Pawmot. Pawmi, and by extension Pawmo, have way better and cuter proportions in my opinion. I despise the proportions of Pawmot. It has a big
Yeah, honestly, Pawmo is better than Pawmot. I think the only good part about it is the broken move Revival Blessing. And I've spent forever trying to walk with Pawmo, and it doesn't evolve. I think it's rigged.
head on an empty, elongated body. They literally took Pawmi's face and placed it on a fully evolved Pokemon. I don't vibe with that. Even if there is precedent for this kind of lazy evolution in Pokemon, I think this was the worst execution. It's definitely cuter in 2D, and I need you guys to remember that I designed all of these redesigns literally a day before the official art for most of them was revealed, so my grievances is mostly with the in-game models. But honestly, my biggest nitpick is with the human-style hair.
When did this come out? 2 hours ago? Interesting.
I wouldn't have a problem with this if it was like part of the concept, like squat.
Yes, I am recording this February 4th of 2023. For information.
Rockabilly or Bouffalante. But they thought that giving its shonen protagonist hair would be enough for a difference in an evolution. The literal concept.
I thought this came out like, because he's talking about like when before the official art styles were released. That doesn't really make sense, because it's been out for like over 2 months now.
Is that it's a weirdly proportioned Pawmo with hair. Okay, enough with my rant. For all of these designs, the concept will stay relatively similar to the original concept. This is still going to be a fighting electric Marmot with defibrillators on its palm, but I want to make it a bit feistier. I'm going to keep it on all fours. It can stand like Pikachu, but in my art, it'd be mid-action and moves faster on all fours. It has giant arms and tiny legs, basically a buff Pikachu. This pose won't really reveal the defibrillators on its palms, but you barely see them in game anyways. It'll still have Pawmi's face, but a way more angry version. More differences will be added later. We decided to make its ears more angular to differentiate it. We decided to make its ears more angular to differentiate it. Why can't I say differentiate? We decided to make its ears more angular.
Oh, I thought it was glitching, like differentiate, and it's not.
Differentiate it from Pawmi and make it look more sharp and dangerous. This guy is tough and can beat you up, which contrasts with the fact that it can also use its dangerous arms to revive its comrades. We decided to change the shape of its snout and gave it eyebrow spots again, so it's not just a Pawmi face. Oval cheek pouches for the same reason. Chat was unanimous in wanting its colors to be dark orange, almost red, to allude to its fighting type. Later we went back.
I do like that. Do I like it better? I'm not really sure.
And made its hair match its snout and patterns. And in the final design, I gave it a more natural pose with spiky back that shows how angry this Pokemon is. I just absolutely love the contrast between cute and fierce. It's what Pokemon is all about. It's like seeing a kid who only works out its upper body, but very effectively. I'm sure many will find the original cuter, and that I barely changed its design. The whole point is to not make a completely new Pokemon, but to work with Game Freak's parameters. You can like what you like. It's not like this will replace the real design. This is simply what I would want to see. It would make Pawmot an A-tier Pokemon for me, unlike the current Pawmot. Next is Flamigo. I've definitely came to appreciate the simplicity of its design and fully understand its lawn flamingo origin. It's supposed to look plastic. The juxtaposition between its unassuming look and how aggressive it is funny to me. so I don't dislike this Pokemon. Not to mention the fact that its neck is knotted in order to prevent deadly energy from leaking out, and how its body is vaguely reminiscent of a boxing glove, but I have an idea to make it less boring with a concept that is also adjacent to its existing concept. The most important aspect of Flamingo is that it's the synchronized Pokemon, but nothing in its design indicates that. So I want to redesign Flamingo by tacking on the concept of aerobics. This synchronized exercise was incredibly popular.
Why? Does not make sense at all. Flamingo is fine. It's literally called Flamingo. You can don't overcomplicate it by making it look less like a flamingo.
The 80s, a decade that also heavily inspired the aesthetics of Vaporwave, which flamingos are already associated with, especially since lawn flamingos were very popular in the conservative suburbs of the 80s. It all goes together quite well. I'm going to design an exercising flamingo with Vaporwave colors like magenta and cyan.
Thank God he's keeping the flamingo design.
Starting by first drawing Flamingo's rough proportions before deviating from the original, I made its beak a bit sharper and gave it a more intelligent expression, considering my main gripe was how Flamingo feels as fantastical as an actual flamingo, so more angry eyes makes it look like a fictional creature. The whole time I'm going to try to incorporate the 80s aerobic leotard. It's incredibly tough to do that without giving it a feminine or at least humanoid figure. We thought its face was as plain as a real flamingo too, so
why are you giving it a leotard? That doesn't really make sense.
we tried adding a ponytail, but Chad agreed a bun made of feathers looked more natural, especially since its feathers being tied in a knot makes its neck being tied in a knot more consistent. We gave it leg warmers on its legs and added the colors I associate with the 80s, but its lower body did not fit. It wasn't.
It's not an old. I don't really see the point in this. Why does it have to be set in the 80s? No, that's absolute no. I definitely disagree with this.
Until I added the appropriately 80s wave segment to the body that the leotard pattern looked more cohesive. Some thought it was a bit over-designed, but the whole point is that it's a flamingo. They're associated with flamboyancy. I hope that's a word. The final design is super fun to me, and what I first assumed a flamingo.
I mean, the colors are better, but I just don't really like it. Because it's not meant to be based off the 80s. It's meant to be a Pokemon based off a flamingo. And while technically that is, I just don't know how I feel about it, so it's no. It's no for me.
Pokemon would look like. Of course, those that already enjoyed the concept of the original would probably prefer the real Flamingo, but the color scheme of my version is so appealing to me that I can't help but approve of it. Next is Frigibax.
Because you made it.
Not a bad Pokemon. I'm a big fan of the line. Some wanted me to redesign Baxcalibur, but I have no serious problems with it. Frigibax, however, is a bit unsettling for me. It's probably based.
Personally, I don't really like the design of Excalibur. It's too, tall and, skinny. It just doesn't have the good design like the other pseudos.
On the relatively ugly Godzilla Jr., this mixture of cute and goofy is evident in Frigibax. It has a place, but I personally toned down the ugliness while still keeping the goofiness. I really like the smooth, bald head that its evolved forms have, instead of its lumps, and really wish that its body was a little bit more pseudo-legendary shaped, so that's the first thing I'm gonna do. I'm giving it a more traditional shape with a sharper beak, bigger back spike, and angry eyes instead of stoned. I never liked the flat face of its original design, so this remedies it. It's still walking the big walk and talking the big talk. I used very low-res pictures of this official art as reference, before the high-quality ones were officially revealed days later. The rest of its body is literally the same, but with different proportions, because that's mainly what I disliked. We migrated its icicle birthmark to below the eyes, so it looks like a baby tear, and added another one on top, as if it's getting balder as it evolves. The colors are simply a brighter version of the real palette, so it naturally gets darker and bluer as it evolves. Here he is, still cute.
I do actually. That's the first one I actually like better.
I can predict that some would think that the goofier design of the original makes it cuter, but I really like the bald head of this new version, as well as the colors. I've definitely grown to like the real Frigibax though, I don't dislike it or anything. Now it's time for the runt that is Capsakid. Many dislike how this rascal doesn't seem to respect our.
Yeah, I don't like the design of Capsakid. And its evolution is fine, but Capsakid's is not great.
personal space in the game. It's quite hilarious, but my personal problem is how it looks. Like, yeah, it's kind of cute, but like in a terrifying way. I was originally gonna redesign Skull Villain, but honestly, the things that I would change about it, like its hollow eyes and head shape, would also be changed about Capsakid. In fact, I'd change way more about Capsakid, so I'm gonna do just that. I'll make its head actually pepper-shaped. It'll be a little menacing, unripe pepper running around. The stem will be longer, its mouth will still have a little seed buck tooth, but its beak has got to go. Its body is literally the same, but its little hand leaves will be a bit bigger and slightly less hand-like. Its eyes will still be hollow, but a seed as its eyeball will make it look less creepy. I gave it leaf hair like in the original, almost like the cap of a Japanese kindergartner, as well as the messy hair of a rascal. I thought a hint of red would help make its body look more festive and spicy. Warmer tones and a yellow pepper also makes the progression of the line more exciting. Here is the final design. I love this little stinker now. Its design matches its energy.
Better.
Nothing too drastic. It's the same exact
terrible,
concept,
honestly.
but with an execution that matches my taste in both Pokemon
Let's go.
and food. Now I'm going to tackle a controversial Pokemon, Tandemaus. It's become fairly popular as people slowly learn to not care about how simple and minimalist it looks, and really come to appreciate its quirky concept and lovable idea, name.
Trust me, you should. Flamigo has probably the most creative design in existence. So anything that is a design like that should be fine.
Evolution and
Yeah, it's a great Pokemon, but they made it a little too Flamigo-like. Or Flamingo, yeah. Flamingo-like.
art. It's a fun Pokemon, but I believe we can have the same amount of fun with this concept while also tweaking the design just a bit. I don't super gel with the idea of having a Pokemon whose design can work for literally any other franchise. There's nothing about Tandemaus's design that indicates that it's a Pokemon. It's too featureless. It's literally a cartoon mouse. Rattata at least has the colors, personality, and art style of a Pokemon. The only thing that makes Tandemaus fantastical is that it's comprised of 2 mice. It's okay, it works, but I just want to make it a bit more clever and a bit less minimalist. So while it's gonna have the exact same concept, instead of 3 circles for a face, it will have more angular ears and a pointier
Looks like Mickey Mouse, sort of.
nose. It's still gonna look like a soulless mouse doll, so chat insisted that it has no mouth. Now I decided to give it one extra feature so it's not just a cartoon mouse with no distinct traits. I added tufts of fur to look like a bow tie along with tuft on the other that looks like a bow. I personally like how the original Tandemaus has no features associated with genders, so you can't really tell the orientation of the couple, but my redesign has one looking a bit more masculine and the other looking a bit more traditionally feminine, but they're still genderless. It's just an excuse to make my individual mice have more character instead of copy and pasting a mouse. I also decided to make one more responsible and the other more energetic. It's just fun that way. And finally, I intertwined their tails like a rat king, but also made it in the shape of a double helix to allude to their DNA combining to bring about their offspring when they evolve. Chat wanted to see heart patterns on both of them. One will look like pants, while the other will look like a top. They're still kinda white, but I decided one will have a pastel blue and the other pastel pink. And then when they're a mousehold, their babies will have purple spots. And finally, lines that look like seams tie them all together, and some extra coloration balance out the design and really make them look like mouse dolls that I had as a child. Just pretend the original Tandemaus didn't exist and you saw this first. I'm sure you'd still enjoy it.
It does look good, because it's more colorful. But, I don't really know.
While still satisfying those that didn't really like how simple the original was. In an ideal world, there would be different variations for all the types of families, but this is a proof of concept. I don't have time for the rest. And finally, the Pokemon I wanted to redesign since the beginning, way before the games came out, Bellybolt. This dude is a frog, but while his extra feature
The only problem with Bellybolt is that you can't tell where its eyes are, because its eyes are actually those yellow dots, instead of the big white thing.
just like the belly and fake eyes allude to frogs, the actual body and limbs look nothing like a frog's. I don't like how it looks like a marketable blob made to sell toys before actually looking.
That's true, it does not look like a frog. So I kind of see his point here, but then again, it's a literal pre-evolution called Tadbulb, so
like a real creature. Most Pokemon are able to do both, but it feels like this one was made to just be a mascot, which is fine. I just think it could be better. I'm not gonna pretend like I have the power to fix this, but the one feature I know I could do better are the fake eyes. Usually this feature would have a much more clever execution, like making it earphones to allude to the sound and electricity an electric frog would generate. But no, these are just the most generic googly eyes that don't even match the aesthetic of the rest of the design or even a frog. So let's begin by drawing the general avocado shape of the original, but with slightly longer legs and thighs, and forehead more reminiscent of a frog's. It'll have the same expression, but with a more minimalistic mouth. We originally thought closed eyes will make its fake eyes look more real, but that'll change later. I made its fake eyes look more like the tympanum of a frog, you know, those circles on their cheeks, with a horizontal design to look like the pupil of some frogs. Actual fingers, and then visible static on its belly. Its patterns will be placed in the same location as the original patterns, but with more natural looking patterns. And the green will be more teal-like to mix well with the orange and yellow. Here is the belly bolt I've wanted since the summer.
What do I think about this? I'm not really sure how I feel about it. Like the tandem mouse thing, I'm kind of just, eh. The only one I fully agree with is for Ridgebacks.
It literally has everything the original has, but fits into the world a bit more, instead of looking like a toy mascot in the wild. Again, I'm sure there will be some who prefer the uniqueness of the original, and I can appreciate that. And I hope you can appreciate this video, enough to leave a like and subscribe for a possible part 2.
So, now we'll wrap up today's video. Like and subscribe and tell me which ones you guys agree with and disagree with. Bye.